Hi everyone. I've been working on this video for way too long, so I am just going to do my recording today and try to get the rest put together later. So, just in case anybody is curious, it is May 16th, and I don't know, I've been trying to do this for a while, but I do feel like this is part of my story that I really want to tell. So I just need to do it. I've been wanting to do it for a while. So basically, I do feel like I'm in a place of stability, but remembering that stability doesn't mean that I'm on a straight upward line. It's been rather zigzaggy. So if you've been following my journey here, you know that a few months ago, my life was hit by a literal red light runner, totaled car, concussion, financial fog. And to be honest, that car meant a lot to me. It was more than just a way to get to work. I bought it with the life insurance payout after my mom passed away, back in the days when Lyft was how I paid bills. It was a bittersweet purchase even then, but it got me through some of the hardest years of my life. To see it totaled and then to deal with crazy making bureaucracy of insurance companies felt like losing a little piece of that connection. But of course, holding on to the memory is different than holding on to an object. On top of that, all this was a setback that made me feel like I was falling behind. All my effort and baby steps of progress toward a financial cushion just lost. I felt like I was once again struggling at the basics of adulthood and finances. Like I talked about in my last video, my knee-jerk reaction was pure bitterness. I just wanted it to be easy one time. I wanted that insurance settlement to show up almost like a rescue check so I could go back to something like normal. But the settlement didn't come. The claim was denied, and I'm still figuring out what normal is going to look like for me. I don't want to go into debt for the normalcy of car ownership, so this video is a reflection on how I'm leaning into that mess and trying to find freedom. Within days of the accident, I was on that one used car website. You know, it advertises everywhere and it makes car buying sound so easy. And don't get me wrong, it would have been very easy to just click those buttons and buy a car. I was definitely sucked in by the shiny free delivery, buy it now, and get it today buttons. And really, it's that easy. Like it really is. You would click on a few buttons. They do their bit on the backside to check out your finances and see if what they pre-approved you for actually matches up. But I am glad that I didn't finish that process. It was just really tempting to think I could just put down a few $100s and have a car at my home in a day or two. And at that time, I was also dealing with mild head injury symptoms, so I wasn't thinking very clearly. Honestly, the monthly payment looked doable even on my tight budget. For a few days, I just assumed I'd be getting a car from this site. I was telling people at work, I'm going to buy from that site. And I didn't even think too much about it since I was still thinking that I was going to get a settlement for a down payment. That ended up being a helpful pause button on a big financial decision. I noticed that even though they said in big, bold letters that I was pre-qualified and sent me many an email to encourage me to shop, they hadn't actually told me my terms. They just gave me a shop with your terms button. So you have to go into the actual buying section or the buying process to see your interest rate. And for me, it wasn't until screen 4 of that process that I saw what they were offering me exactly. The interest rate that they offered me, 27.99%. Oh boy. In many circles, they tell you that's normal if you're rebuilding your credit. And not long ago, I might have thought, well, that's just the price I have to pay as a consequence of my bad choices, like some kind of financial penance. But since I've started working on this channel, and especially since just a few months ago, I did a video all about debt traps that prey on credit rebuilders, all the alarms in my head went off before I committed to that loan. I did some basic math, and it was pretty obvious that that loan would keep me in a terrible financial position for years to come. and that I'd lose more money on interest than the car was even worth. So let's look at that interest tax that they don't want you to calculate. Let's say that you get a $14,000 car loan. I was trying to find something cheaper, but realistically, this is about as cheap as that kind of car market gets right now. With a 72-month loan, which is what gives you those tempting low monthly payments, at 28%, the total repayment is $30,600. $16,600 of that would be interest alone. So I would be paying $16,600 just in interest. I would literally be paying more in interest than the entire original price of that car, which would not be a very new car. It's a pretty old car. And that would pretty much double the price of that car just for the privilege of owning it. So obviously, that's not happening. If I am going to blow 16K on anything over the next 6 years, it is absolutely not going to be a car. I've also been taking into account the actual monthly drain because the stress of car ownership for me had been weighing on me for so long. I didn't really notice it until it was gone. So from one angle, it would be the monthly cost. If with a loan, it would be the car payment around $425, the full insurance coverage that you have to have with financing, so around $150 in my area, plus about $100 in gas, and that's probably being optimistic given the current economy. So then when you add personal property tax and maintenance, that's about $700 a month, and that's not even accounting for the depreciation of the car loan. But now that I've been doing Lyft for a couple months, even at my most expensive errand heavy weeks where I'm going across counties or going places besides work a lot, not on the bus, I spent less than $200. Most weeks are closer to $150. So for me, that really balances out well with the cost to own a car, or at least to get a car loan. And I was carpooling for a few weeks, but I decided that didn't really work for me. I really enjoy being in the bubble of the backseat of somebody else's car, listening to music and just having my own space. And of course, as a teacher on summer break, my transportation costs will be purely recreational and near zero. But even worst case scenario, I'm paying at least $150 less per month for the privilege of not owning a depreciating asset. When I'm not in a Lyft, my transportation cost is zero. When you own a car, the cost is never zero, even when it's sitting in your driveway. Another thing that I think about a lot is the factor of how much background stress the maintenance has cost me, largely because I kept putting it off until I had enough money, which is never, and worried that I'd have a breakdown. I would occasionally get to my oil changes, and other than that, no maintenance, only whatever happened if there was an emergency. A few weeks ago, I was on the way home in a Lyft, I think it was a minivan, and I could hear a scraping metallic sound, and it reminded me of a time that I needed brakes. And that stress of just knowing like, oh, this is like at least several $100s and probably hundreds of dollars that I don't have right now. And it was a stress that I haven't had for a few months now. So it's really nice to have that feeling just gone, the nervousness of my car breaking down and not having the money I needed to fix it. So if I owned that overpriced used car, a mechanical emergency would have instantly jumped my monthly spend from $700 to $1,500 and wiped out whatever emergency cushion I had again. I thought about this for a while and I realized it's another kind of tax. You could call it the crossing your fingers tax. When I had my car, which was paid for, I didn't have a loan on that one, and my costs looked low because I was skipping maintenance, but I was hoping for no emergencies. And I've done some research. In the financial world, that's called an unfunded liability. It's a stress clutter. So even when I wasn't paying a mechanic, my brain was paying for that risk every single day. There was a background hum of, what if it breaks down today? And that was a form of mental clutter that I have deleted and I do not miss having. And there's a snowball change to these things. If I kept delaying oil changes, that could turn into a $5,000 engine failure. And that brake job that could have been 250 would become a $1,200 rotor disaster. So I was basically borrowing peace of mind from my future self, just hoping that that bill would never come due. And at the same time, I was doing things like driving around with an expired inspection sticker because I was so scared of how much it would cost to get it inspected. So every time I drove by a police car or there was a police car nearby, I would wonder if today was the day that I was going to get in huge trouble for this. So I feel pretty great about like simplifying my life in so many ways, but when it comes to the car, that has been the biggest way I've simplified my life. Being able to live in the reality of what I can actually afford today is really, really helping me. I'm not saying that I'll never buy a car again. I'm tempted by that idea, but if there was a time when I had enough to pay for a car up front and to have the money for the maintenance, then I'd consider it. But that's just not where I am right now. It's kind of like looking at buying a house. Like, I love the idea of buying a house, and theoretically, I could afford a mortgage, but I just don't have anything left over for maintenance, which is a huge part of home ownership as well. But that's a different topic. Right now, I just can't quite afford the car. That's pretty much it for today. It doesn't seem like that much now that I've got it recorded, so I don't know why it took me so long to get it done. But thank you for being here, and I hope to update again soon.